Hi everybody, welcome back to THE Student Webinars. We are here today with the wonderful Cambridge University. I'm sure you've heard of them across many seas. And we are here to discuss why you should apply with Cambridge, how you can apply with Cambridge, and more. So we have the wonderful Vanya Theophilopoulou, who will be here to talk with you about all of the options and how to apply. And if there are any questions, please do ask them, guys. We are here for the questions at the very end of our seminar here today. At the Q&A box just at the bottom of your screen there. And so those on Facebook, hello, we will be getting to your questions as well at the very end of today's webinar. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over to Vanya.
Hello, thank you very much for the introduction. Hi everyone, my name is Vanya. I am from the University of Cambridge. I'm based within the international team and I have special responsibility for Sub-Saharan Africa. So there is going to be a poll later on, just because we're just very curious to see where our audience is coming from today. Lovely. Okay, so I'll start going through the presentation. Oh, there's the poll. Amazing. So please do submit your answer. Unfortunately, we couldn't include every single country in Africa. But yeah, there's the other button at the bottom if you can't see your country on the list. Wonderful. Okay, we'll leave that on for a few more seconds. So, and at the bottom, you will see another poll asking you whether you're an undergraduate or a postgraduate student, so that we know again what level our audience is looking at today. Okay, so you can see. Fabulous. Okay, a few more seconds for all of you to vote. Or make your choice rather. Brilliant. And I'll take that down now so that we can progress with the presentation. Brilliant. Okay. Excellent. Okay, well, I thought just to set the scene, to show you a very short video of the University of Cambridge. Now, be warned, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So bear with me. Oh no, bear with me to see. No, unfortunately, it's not working. Right, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'll progress to the next slide. Brilliant. Okay. So, the University of Cambridge, let me tell you a little bit about our background. So we were founded in 1209, so we are one of the oldest universities in the English-speaking world. We are comprised by 31 colleges and over 150 academic departments and facilities. We are a large, I would say, in size university in the UK. We are home to 23,000 students, undergrad and postgraduate students from 140 countries. So all continents are quite well represented across the university. We have 30 undergraduate courses covering more than 65 different subject areas and over 300 postgraduate programs. A lesser known fact about the University of Cambridge is that we are quite a sporty university. We have 194 Olympic medals, and also we enjoy 121 Nobel laureates so far. A few words about the Collegiate University, and the University of Cambridge is a collegiate university. So when we talk about the relationship between the university and the college, think of the university as the umbrella organization underneath which we have our 31 colleges operating under that umbrella. So the college and the university are part of the same thing. The distinction between a college is this, that between a college and the university is this. So think of a college as a mini campus which is providing a base for students. So think of it as where your accommodation plus other facilities are based. So your catering, your recreational, and your study facilities are going to be based at the college. Also, at undergraduate level, the colleges admit their own students for any program they might have chosen. That's slightly different to postgraduate students, and I will explain that later on. But what does the university do? So the university is in charge of the academic departments. So it's the university that actually decides the course content, organizes lectures, the seminars, practical sessions, and lab work. Also, the university sets and marks examinations and also awards degrees. So how much time you spend in your college is completely up to you. For some students, their college is simply the place where they sleep and attend supervisions. But for most, it provides experiences and friendships that can last a lifetime. Okay, I just wanted to cover this quite early on in the presentation, just in case you have a few questions later on. So I'll take you through the application process, which is slightly different for undergrad and postgrad studies. So let's tackle undergrad to start with. So first of all, the first thing you need to do when you start thinking about not just applying to the University of Cambridge, but generally applying to a UK university, you need to choose your program, and you can only choose one program at the University of Cambridge. Then you need to really think about whether it's best for you to apply to a college directly for the program of your choice, or if you're undecided which college you wish to opt for, then you can put an open application in. The open applications go into a pool of other open applications, and then what happens is that every individual college has access to that pool of open applications and can handpick the students that they're interested in. So it's completely up to you whether you apply directly to one college for one course, or you apply for one course to essentially all colleges. The only risk with that is that with open applications, ultimately the college that selects you for interview and perhaps makes you an offer as a result, then that's the college that you need to go to. So, so in a way, you don't have a say about where essentially you're going to live. One of the most important things to be mindful of is that at the University of Cambridge and Oxford, there are additional assessments. So you will need to sign up for those separately, and you need to do so quite early on in the process. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with your program and with the entry requirements, which, by the way, everything is all online in a public forum. So make sure that you visit the course website, the course web page quite often, so that you keep up to date with any assessments, any other arrangements that you need to make, so that you sign up for things in a timely fashion. Now, unlike other UK universities, for Oxford and Cambridge, you have to apply up until this year by the 15th of October, but from next year onwards is going to be the 16th of October. Now, that's quite early compared to other universities, so make sure that you're very, very clear about what the timelines are. Also, you can only either apply to Cambridge or Oxford. You cannot apply to both, but then you can apply to other UK universities on the same application. Okay. So once the UCAS application has been handed in, then we will ask you to submit an additional questionnaire, which is just for the purposes of assessment at the University of Cambridge. Your UCAS application, the same application with the same personal statement, is going to go to all the universities you're applying to. So make sure in your personal statement, as an example, you don't make a mention of a particular university you're interested in, because that application is going to be read by all 5 universities you'll be applying to. However, the additional questionnaire, which is going to be sent to you by admissions at the University of Cambridge, is specifically for the University of Cambridge. So you can be quite specific there as well. On occasion, we might ask for additional written work or an additional assessment, but of course we will let you know quite early on if there are any extra requirements. One of the idiosyncrasies at both Cambridge and Oxford is that before an offer is made, students are being interviewed by a panel of academics. Now, the interview is nothing scary. The interview is not there to trick you or to trip you up. It's genuinely for us to find out your drive, passion and knowledge on the subject of your choice, and whether you actually would be a good fit for the way that we do things at Cambridge. Interviews are mostly online, and they last no more than 1 hour. And finally, I know that our application deadline is quite early, but also we make decisions about applications quite early as well. So all decisions are communicated to students by the end of January. If you've secured a place at Cambridge, brilliant. If you haven't, then you'll have a little bit of time to think about your options beyond Cambridge. So that covers the undergraduate admissions process. So that is for school leavers who aspire to join us for their first degree, their bachelor's in the UK. Moving on to postgraduate applications now. These are slightly different. So you will not apply through UCAS. You will apply directly to the University of Cambridge on our online portal as soon as you've chosen the course of choice. Unlike the undergraduate admissions process, at postgraduate level, you can apply to more than one courses. And remember, the application will be directly to the university. Please do check deadlines for courses and also deadlines for scholarships and funding. These are two different things, two different deadlines. Also, make sure that you're very, very clear what the application deadline is for the program of your choice. Every program, every academic program has a different deadline. So unlike undergraduate applications that only have one deadline, the 16th of October, at postgraduate level, every program has its own deadline. You can apply, as I said before, through the application portal directly to the university. Make sure that you collect 2 references. Ordinarily, we would expect the references to be academic references. However, some programs, especially the business program, the MBA programs, will also require a work reference. And for some business programs, we might ask for a reference from your colleagues. These are the programs that require quite a lot of teamwork. So make sure again that you're very, very clear as to how many and what type of references you will require for the program. Now, the college choice is not perhaps as significant as it is for undergraduate study. So colleges, you can elect 2 colleges that you would like to be affiliated to, and then just add them on your application. If your first choice is not available, normally you'll be able to be placed in your second choice. Then you'll go ahead and formally apply online. It takes us a few months to shortlist postgraduate applications, and after this phase, then we will invite you, if you've made the shortlist, for an interview. Again, the interview, it's pretty much the same. So undergrad and postgraduate interviews are pretty much the same in terms of structure and in terms of objective, i.e., what are we trying to get out of the interviews. We would expect you to know your discipline quite well. We would expect you to have passion and to be quite well read about the area that you would like to delve into. In the interview, think of it as a discussion with an academic. So think of it as an academic discussion. Depending on the program and whether it's a STEM program or humanities program, then you'll be asked a few questions. And for courses like computer science or mathematics or architecture, There might be some physics or mathematics questions or quizzes that we might ask you to answer as part of the interview. Again, decisions are communicated straight after the interviews. It normally takes a few weeks. Okay, if you have any more questions about applications or the process, there will be opportunity to ask at the end of this session. A few words about student life and what is it like? Is it all work and no play at Selective University? Well, no, not really. We absolutely will want you to, of course, study hard and progress and be the best you can be academically, but also it's really important to us for you to really embrace your student experience and to really expose yourself to as many experiences outside of the classroom as you possibly can. So there are lots of university and college clubs and societies. Some clubs and societies are affiliated to a sport, to different cultures, nationalities, religions, specific interests. So I think there's about 200 odd clubs and societies. So I'm sure that you'll find a club or society that you feel quite close to. Also, there is quite a lot of sport, music, drama, and other interest groups at every level. Cambridge, as a city, is quite vibrant. It's quite safe, quite relaxed, quite close to London as well. 50 minutes by train. There are lots of pubs, restaurants, theatres, and festivals, especially in the summer months when the weather is quite dry and quite warm. The way Cambridge has been described to me is as a small, that it has a small town feel, but a big city energy. And it is true, there's quite a lot happening in the day and the nighttime. In terms of costs, life in Cambridge, the costs, it depends where you live, I suppose, but I would say medium high. It's definitely not the cheapest of areas in the UK, but definitely certainly not the most expensive. I would absolutely encourage you, if you can, to click on the link below or take a photo of it and go on a virtual tour of not just the university, but the city as well. So the important thing to remember about Cambridge is that it's not a campus university. The university and the city grew alongside one another. So you'll be walking around Cambridge and you might be walking past a bank and then an academic department and then a hall of residence or a college effectively. So it's all very much intertwined. You'll come across that quite a lot with universities that are quite old, because normally universities that are quite old, the university grew alongside the town or city. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Again, studying at a selective university, what is it like? Is it super competitive? Is it stressful? What should I expect? And there is quite a lot of anxiety when students are preparing to join a selective university like Cambridge. And as I said before, it should absolutely be an opportunity, of course, to study hard and apply yourself, but also to enjoy the student life. So there are some formal structures for help and support. There is going to be the Director of Studies that will look after you academically and make sure that you progress on the programme as expected. But also you will have a pastoral tutor who is going to be looking after you with regards to matters outside of the classroom. There is surgery and nurse access at college level as well. And of course, there's the College Students' Union and the representative for international students that is going to be the representative for all matters that concern international students. And of course, don't forget the informal networks that you will have created during your time at the university. Also, when you first arrive, which probably sounds very, very daunting, especially if you've never travelled outside of your home country, all universities, not just Cambridge, have a Freshers' Week. The Freshers' Week is the first week of term. There are no classes during that time, and it's your opportunity to engage with college colleagues, your peers, your academic peers, sign up for clubs and societies, and really get to know as many people as possible before the program starts formally. Of course, there are other types of support as well. At undergrad and postgraduate level, the university does have some scholarships and funding, but of course you have to apply and be awarded before you start your program. But also for those students who are quite mindful of careers and employability, especially after they graduate from the university, there is a whole host of events organised by a careers office, fairs and exhibitions that bring future employers with our students together, so that our students can start thinking about careers and employability and create connections that are going to be very, very useful for the time straight after their graduation. I normally find this slide quite useful, especially for those students who might be thinking beyond the UK, who might be thinking about USA universities and UK universities. And I think it's really, really important to highlight the similarities, but also the differences between the two systems. So one of the main differences between the USA higher education system and the UK education system is that the general terminology tends to be slightly different. So as an example, in the USA, you might be asked, oh, what school are you going to? School meaning university. In the UK, you normally live in college or halls of residence, but in the USA, they're called dorms. So you have to get around the different, perhaps, terminology that is being used across the pond. The application process and the selection tends to be slightly different in the USA and the UK. In the UK, we tend to be slightly more academic than the USA. So as an example, somebody who's fantastic at sport and absolutely requires a sports scholarship to go to university, a better fit for them is probably the USA, that invests quite a lot, quite heavily in sports scholarships. In the UK, sport is important, but it's not the thing that is going to guarantee you a scholarship. We would ordinarily look at academic achievement at school or university level. Another difference between the USA and the UK education system is that the UK, whether you're doing an undergraduate or a postgraduate degree with us, our programs have enormous depth. So you'll drill down to the detail, you'll do quite a lot of research, in-depth research, and you'll apply yourself to a particular subject area. Whereas the USA system is probably a little bit better for those who don't exactly know where they want to focus on academically, and they want to explore a wider range of subjects. So in your first and your second year in the USA, you'll be exploring lots and lots of different subjects, but you will not necessarily have depth. That's why the USA courses tend to be a little bit longer than the UK equivalents. As I touched upon before, the scholarship types tend to be quite different. In the USA, you will come across needs-based or sports scholarships quite a bit, whereas scholarships in the UK tend to be very, very academic. So we would normally cherry pick the best students academically and award the scholarships to them. At Cambridge, which is again a slight idiosyncrasy of the Collegiate University, some scholarships are held within the college and some scholarships are held by the university. So make sure that if you're looking at scholarships at the University of Cambridge, you're very, very clear about the distinction between college scholarships and university-wide scholarships. Some scholarships are also nationality-based. We have a fantastic scholarship search tool on our website, whereby you can put in your biodata, your nationality, the program that you're thinking of doing, level, and then that will filter all the scholarships that we have, so that you can concentrate on the ones that you are potentially eligible for. Having talked about all the differences between the USA and the UK education systems, there are quite a few similarities. Both systems are Anglophone, very international in terms of the students that we recruit, but also the academic members of staff. Normally, both systems enjoy a really international academic colleagues within the departments, and also the degrees carry global recognition. So whether you want to go back home post-graduation to work, you can be satisfied that your degree is going to be fully recognized, or if you want to go and work somewhere else. So there is quite a lot of, if you like, flexibility when it comes to your graduation certificates. And that's my final slide. Just a couple of notes. I would absolutely encourage you to attend one or more of our events. So the first event, the first sort of link is for undergraduate events specifically, and the second link is for postgraduate events specifically. Normally, we have a big open day for undergrad studies in July. Normally, a big postgraduate open day is at some point October, November. However, almost every month we have other events delivered by various teams. So make sure that you sign up to newsletters so that you can receive information about any upcoming events. Some are university specific, some are college specific, some are specific to your area, the academic area that you're interested in. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is to chat to our students. So we have a fantastic messenger type of system called Unibuddy, whereby you can approach, think of it as a Facebook Messenger. You can approach our student ambassadors and have open and honest conversations about how they found the university, how they found their college, or the program of their choice. And normally that's a really authentic way of getting to know the university from a student perspective. Again, to highlight the deadlines for applications. So the undergraduate application deadline is the 16th of October every year, but the postgraduate programs, the deadlines depend on each program. So if you're applying to more than one, make sure that you're really, really clear what the deadline for the applications is. Okay, brilliant. Now, if you have any more questions, or if you would like to engage with us via email, this is our email address, so internationaladmissions@admin.cam.ac.uk. Lovely, and I think I will stop sharing now. Excellent. Brilliant.
Hello.
I can see we've had a few questions come our way, so that's great.
We have. Okay, shall I start off the questions for you?
Yes, brilliant. That'll be amazing. Thank you.
Okay, how best is it to stand out in the application stage at Cambridge?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And actually, what I'm about to say applies for undergrad and postgrad students as well. So make sure that you're very authentic. Make sure that you talk to us about, your motivations, not necessarily applying to the University of Cambridge, but what are your motivations for the degree program? Don't dwell too much on college choice, and don't explain to us why you have chosen the college that you've chosen. All of that is pretty much irrelevant in terms of your application. So make sure that you focus on you and your motivations and the program of your choice, and what you're hoping to do after you graduate with a Cambridge degree, what sort of career aspirations you have beyond your academic degree. This is the sort of things that we want to hear from aspiring applicants. Obviously, if you've done something fantastic outside of the classroom environment, voluntary work, research. Absolutely make sure that you mention these things in your personal statement.
Amazing. That kind of brings me on to the next question, actually. So, how many extracurricular activities do I need to include, or any work experience previously taken?
Wonderful. We don't think that more is better. It's about quality. We do know that when you're a school student or a university student, your focus has to be, of course, academic studies. So we don't expect you to have hundreds of hours of voluntary work, as an example. But it's down to the quality of voluntary work, research, other things that you can talk about. And the sort of things that you can talk about is of course, beyond voluntary work, if you have attended a conference or a study group, or something interesting that will stand out. It doesn't have to be hundreds and hundreds of hours, so bear that in mind. It's about quality, and it's about also not necessarily talking about achievements. As an example, if you've won an award for something amazing you've done, also drill down to what you've actually gained through a competition or through voluntary work. So don't enlist all the wonderful things that you've done and leave it at that. Actually make a connection between your achievement and what that will actually mean in the Cambridge environment.
Amazing. And can you remind us when the application dates are ending for this year? Should I apply soon? Someone's asking.
So for undergraduate studies, so bachelor's degree equivalents, our application was the 15th of October. So applications have closed for this year for undergraduate study. For postgraduate study, we have a rolling sort of system. So some programs are open for application until May sometimes. So normally the postgraduate portal opens at some point in September, October time. So you can start applying 12 months before your program actually starts. For the really, really popular programs, and I'm sure you can guess which ones these are, I would absolutely recommend that you apply before Christmas. Otherwise, you might be a little bit too late. So the process of the application at postgraduate level, and to a certain degree at undergraduate level, needs to start quite early on. So you need to be preparing for quite a few months for your application.
Understood. I think someone's just also put into the chat about scholarships. I know you mentioned this previously, so if you want to maybe just touch on that one more time, or if there is a link that you could send.
Sure, yeah. Can I pop the link in the Q&A box?
If you can in the chat, that'd be perfect.
Oh, chat, brilliant. Yeah, I'll do that. That's probably more useful.
Yeah,
bear with me.
exactly.
So there are
That's
two.
okay.
Yeah. So I noticed that there is a question about full scholarships. There are some full scholarships at Cambridge and other UK universities, but of course they're limited in number. So if you're really interested in a full scholarship, make sure that you do your research quite early on. Apply quite early on, and also really, really explain as part of your application as to why you should be considered for a full scholarship. Some degrees and some colleges have partial scholarships, some have full scholarships. As I said before, the full scholarships are more difficult to get hold of, but it's worth trying. One of the things that I would absolutely advise you to do is, when you're looking to apply for scholarships, don't apply for every single scholarship you come across using exactly the same application. Some scholarships would expect to tailor your personal statement quite a bit. So refrain from doing a copy and paste job for every single scholarship application. It's better to narrow it down to, say, 5 or 10 scholarships and really tailor them and really focus on them. Otherwise, if you spread yourself thin, and my worry is that you'll probably apply to 100 scholarships, but your your application content might be a little bit poor as a result. So you have to ask your question as to whether you want to go for quality or quantity of applications, be it an academic application or a scholarship application. I'm just about to drop a link for the postgraduate funding. Bear with me.
That's okay, and also maybe an email to contact you would be great.
Sure. Okay, so that's the link for postgraduate funding. And that's the email address for the international team, if you have any more questions.
We
Okay.
do have some more questions here, so we can get back to the questions
Sure,
now.
sure.
Can I work alongside my degree? How many hours would you recommend?
Okay, well, there are two things that you need to consider. All countries, regardless of destination, they have an upper limit of how many hours you are allowed to work alongside your studies. In the UK at present, is up to 20 hours a week during term time. However, that does, so this is the guidelines, the government guidelines. Realistically, because the university teaches in a very robust manner, the programs are really, really demanding. I would say 20 hours a week is probably a stretch. We do encourage students from working a few hours a week. It is important, but to not overstretch themselves, because the worst case scenario would be for you to focus too much on your part-time job and then start neglecting your program. And because our delivery is very fast-paced, it will be, if that's the case, then you'll fall behind quite quickly. So I would, if you can, I would say refrain from working during term time. And if you would like to work, you can do so during the holidays. That's probably more realistic.
Great. And can I stay in the UK after I graduate to work, and for how long?
Yeah, sure. So there is the post-study work visa. You can stay back for a couple of years. You don't necessarily need to have work lined up straight after you graduate, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room, you know, to not worry too much about employment straight after university. But after the initial 2 years, if you wish to remain back to the UK, then you need to make sure that you find a sponsor, an employer sponsor, to sponsor you for a visa. It's exactly the same in the United States, as an example. Most international companies, banks, building societies, and insurance companies, engineering companies, they tend to be on the sponsor register, which enables them to sponsor students who wish to remain back in the UK and, of course, work full-time with them. So you will have a couple of years to figure out what you want to do, where you want to live in the UK, and what sort of industry to enter.
Amazing. We have a few questions about some programs, so I don't know if you can maybe
Sure.
let us know. Is there an offer of postgraduates in MA fashion design?
I'm sorry, but we don't have anything in fashion design at all. So look at perhaps newer universities for this sort of thing, more modern universities for this sort of thing. I think the University of the Arts, I think, is a university that offers quite a lot of design sort of programs. Look at the Good University guide for lists of subject-specific sort of courses and which universities they're delivered by. But we don't offer that at Cambridge.
Okay, there's a question about nursing here, medical programs.
Yeah, sure.
If you can see, it says, I am Ghanaian.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they hold a BSc in nursing at the moment. Can I apply for the graduate entry medical program? That's what they're asking.
Potentially. Ideally, we'll be looking at students who already have some hands-on work experience within a wider sort of healthcare setting. So it's really difficult to answer these questions specifically because every single student is different. But the graduate program might be an avenue for you. Or the standard program might also be an avenue for you as well. It says something about write a finals in October, November, and only get the results in mid-January. Okay, so, and that's important to highlight for all students. So we know that at the point of your application, regardless of whether it's an undergrad or a postgraduate application, you will most probably not have every single piece of documentation, every test result that you might require, and that's okay. So what will happen in those cases, you'll fill out the application, of course, in full. You'll submit the references, any transcripts, mark sheets, any test results you might have to hand at the point of the application. And then you will owe us the rest of the documentation later on in the process. Most applicants at the point of the application do not have every single thing they need. So that should not deter you from applying. We know that it is an issue, and that's okay, as long as you have the basics.
Awesome. Can I ask, do you offer any research funding?
Research is very much the heart of what we do. So especially at postgraduate level, there is quite a lot of research funding. If it's not Cambridge University specific research funding, then we do collaborate with the UK Research Institute as an example. So there are pots of money, not necessarily from the University of Cambridge, but from research institutes that are affiliated with us and quite a few other UK universities. So STEM, as an example, research is very much in vogue at the moment. So make sure that you do quite a lot of research about what sort of opportunities there are, either for postgraduate taught research programs or for PhDs, which are the longer 3 to 4 year programs.
Right. And do you have a program in business digital programs at the moment? Asking here. Guessing that means digital.
Business. So at postgraduate level, so our business school tends to be more postgraduate. We have programs in fintech, MBA, management and business programs. So it really does depend what sort of components you want your program to have. So make sure that when you're doing your research, you don't dwell so much on the course title, but you actually drill down to what the core modules are going to be, and also go further than that and make sure you have a good understanding of what the electives are going to be. The electives are the modules that are not mandatory for your program, but they are modules that you can select to gain a different expertise or to explore additional interests that you might have as part of the wider program.
Okay, and I think we have a couple more just to end today, but I think someone's asking about perfect courses. Are there any advice on the top courses at Cambridge that you could offer? How to apply to a perfect course? Perfect course.
It depends on what you mean when you say perfect course. I suppose one of the things that you will have to consider, one of the things that you have to consider is the entry requirements of the courses. So the first, of course, stumbling block might be, do I have the entry requirements? Am I more humanities? Am I more STEM? Or am I more business and management? So you need to be really clear as to what the entry requirements are. Once you're clear on that, then the one thing that you can potentially think about is, of course, passion and interest in the actual discipline, but also perhaps take it a little bit further and think about employability potential after you graduate. So the perfect course, without actually knowing anything about your CV or what you're passionate about, the things that you have to consider is entry requirements and whether realistically you'll be able to meet those. Passion and drive for the discipline that you wish to affiliate yourself with, and also employability, you know, in terms of what happens after you graduate, and is the program of choice, will it open doors for you employability wise, not just in the UK, but overseas. You need to have a plan A and a plan B. And that's why when students graduate with a UK degree, that's great, because UK degrees carry full recognition and they're fully transferable elsewhere, which is really, really important.
Great. And I think lastly here, someone is asking, can I study journalism and law at the same time, or would I have to choose one at Cambridge?
Well, we don't really offer journalism. However, we do offer law at undergraduate and postgraduate level. It's very, very rare that you will come across a law degree that includes a completely separate area of study, but they're all part of the same thing. Degrees that carry professional accreditation at the end, they tend to be quite robust and quite inflexible, because there are so many obligatory courses and components that you have to study in order to qualify as a lawyer, as an accountant, or as a medic at the end of it. So normally the combined courses you'll come across, they tend to be within humanities, as an example, and they tend to be psychology, sociology, language programs, as well as history, maybe politics. Some universities are better at picking and mixing courses. Some universities are more stringent, so you have to choose one area, concentrate on that, and maybe diversify a little bit by selecting electives, sort of choice modules, as part of your program, normally in years 2 and 3. That's when you normally have quite a lot of flexibility. Some programs do offer a study abroad opportunity. So for those students who might want to explore a semester or a year overseas, there are some degrees that absolutely offer that. Again, language degrees are the ones that normally you would expect to have a study abroad component, so that you can immerse yourself in a culture and a language. So make sure that when you're looking at courses, you look at modules and what sort of opportunities there are for placements, internships, and study abroad.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Vanya, for all of your information today. And thank you guys for joining. We have had some very interesting questions. And if you guys do have any more questions, we do have the email just in the chat here. And for those on Facebook, that is internationaladmissions@admin.cam.ac.uk. We will be in touch very soon for those who did apply, and the recording will be sent over to you very shortly. Vanya, any last words of encouragement for our students of today?
Well, my top tips before we close is start thinking about your next steps quite early. You don't wake up one morning and think, right, okay, the deadline is next week, I can apply. This week it's a long-winded process. And whatever you do, whichever country you choose or whichever university you choose to apply to, make sure that you do your research beforehand and you receive information and guidance from a wide range of sources, and also make sure that the sources that you're getting your information from are official, sort of legitimate sources as well. So engage quite a bit with university websites. And of course, if you're quite close to academic colleagues, make sure that you discuss with them, perhaps universities, avenues, programs, and countries as well. And they might have some pieces of advice for you, but ultimately the choice has to be yours. So you have to be really, really comfortable with your choice of university. And my final tip, as I said before, don't go crazy and apply to 100 programs, to 100 different universities. Focus and tailor your applications, whether they're academic applications or scholarship applications, and go for quality rather than quantity.
Amazing. I do think we have one more question that has just popped in.
Yeah, sure.
Very lucky. I think it says, so as a diploma graduate of IPMC, what are the certificates or information do you look out for? I'm guessing at application stages.
So sorry, I'm not particularly familiar with the IPMC, but what you can do if you want to double check your qualification, if you go on the website, there is an entry requirements page, and you can choose your country and the qualification that you are holding, and that will give you an indication as to whether it's at the level that we expect to be, higher, lower. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer for you, but if you get on the website, you know, all the information is on a public platform.
All right, and I think that brings us to the end of our webinar today. Thank you, everybody, again, once more time. And we will be in touch very soon with all of the information. Thank you, Vanya, and thank you guys for attending. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye now.